I'd like to demonstrate a full distributed vault deployment in a video of less than 10 minutes. Though it might sound difficult and complex, you will soon see how easy it is to deploy a distributed vault by using the configuration manager supported with the embedded workflow as a guide. Before watching this video, we recommend watching the Overview on Distributed Vault video, however, it is not mandatory. For the architecture in this demo, I will use 4 servers: a master XDM server and a remote master vault will be deployed in USA, and 2 nodes as satellite vaults which will be deployed in Europe and in Japan. I will use the Configuration Manager utility to guide me through the steps to a successful distributed vault deployment. Here is the plan. I have 4 servers already installed with Mentor software. XDM Design Services, XDM Library Services, and XDM Server are installed on my master XDM Server host machine, while on the other 3 nodes I have installed just XDM Server node. Using the Configuration Manager utility on the master XDM Server, I will configure all the settings for the master XDM Server and all the nodes. Later, I will establish the XDM Server network by deploying an agent on the master host and also an agent on each node. Deploying the agent on the nodes will be the only operation that I will execute locally on the nodes. Once the XDM Server network is set up, I will return to the master XDM Server host machine and will continue with the testing and deployment of all the nodes remotely. On the master XDM Server host, I'm running the Configuration Manager utility. For this strategy, I select Advanced and Distributed XDM Server Deployment. I keep the selection on the Remote Master Vault, which will allow the Master Vault to be deployed on a separate and dedicated host machine. Clicking Next takes me to the configuration of the Master XDM Server. I can modify the configuration of the Master XDM Server, such as the name, directories, or database. I save and click Next. The workflow instructs me to build the network. The first step gives me the option to define configuration templates to be used when deploying the nodes. I can add a template, give it a name, and define the platform, modify, and save my changes. In the next step, I define each one of the nodes that I would like to use. Let me configure the master vault, which will use the template that I just created. Let's create another node for the satellite in Europe, this time using the default template, and another node for the satellite in Japan. Next, we'll run the pre-deploy tests of the master agent. Looks like we're ready to deploy the agent on the master XDM server. During the deployment of the master agent, a bundle was created for every node. I need to manually copy the appropriate bundle to each node. Here, I copy the master vault bundle to the remote master vault host machine. I should now deploy the agent on the node using the agent deploy utility while providing the path to the bundle that I just copied. Let me do the same for each one of the nodes. For the satellite in Europe, and for the satellite in Japan. I use the shortcut to the Utilities console and run agent deploy-bundle command to deploy the agent on each node. And once done, I can go back to the Configuration Manager to see that all the agents are deployed and therefore the XDM server network is fully deployed. It means that I can remotely run the pre-deploy tests for all the nodes and launch the deployment of all the nodes again remotely. Let's do it. With a single click, I launch the deployment on all 3 nodes on parallel. After a few minutes, all the node agents report back that the deployment of the node is successful. Therefore, I can continue to the next step. I run pre-deploy test on the master XDM server. And if the results are positive, I can click Next and start the deployment of the master XDM server. At the end of a successful deployment, I get the URL list that is needed for clients to connect to the master XDM server and for administrator to access the web admin and continue with the Vault access configuration. I'm using the web admin to configure the access of users to the vaults. Each user has a location field. For example, New York, Huntsville, Paris, London, Tokyo, etc. When I create a new domain, I assign user's location to a domain. I will now create a domain named Europe and assign Paris and London. And in a similar way, I will create the domain Japan and assign the location Tokyo to it. Now, under Vault Access, I can assign satellite vaults to this domain, as well as setting the priorities for accessing the vaults for this domain. Therefore, a user can access a satellite vault only if the satellite vault is listed on the domain that has the user's location bound to it. Furthermore, on the XDM design client, I can define the replication of the specific project data or the replication of any specific folder within the project to selected satellites. Remember that all the data will be available on the master vault, and so I only need to define the satellites that I would like the data to be replicated to. According to the priorities set for the vault access of a domain and the availability of the satellites, the user will be automatically directed to use an available vault that he not only has access to, but also a vault that has the data replicated to. I just demonstrated a full deployment process of a distributed vault. I used one server to host the master XDM server and 3 other servers to host the remote master vault and the satellites. I presented the embedded workflow within the Configuration Manager utility that instructed me on the tasks that I need to do in order to successfully deploy distributed vault. Finally, I presented how to create XDM domain and define the vault access for each domain.